Perfect. Let it kind of adjust real quick just so it's back in HD and then alrighty. So I'm here with my good friend James Banks.
Yes, sir.
James, what's going
Sir.
on, man?
Ain't nothing much, man. I would just want to first thank you, Kevin, for having me join your podcast today. It's a blessing, man, to be able to join back with you after some time. We've been apart for a little while, but it's good that we've been in communication with each other about doing this podcast, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. Thank you.
Hey, my pleasure, man. This is a blessing for me. The honor's all mine because if it's just me talking to myself, it's not going to be very fun or interesting. So, all right, man. So let's start it out. I just have a couple notes here. So, can you just share with everybody your background and experience, and go into as much details as as you want or comfortable as far as your athletic background goes, your academic background, your professional background, and kind of where you came from, and what you're doing right now.
Yeah, no problem, man. So, my name is James Banks, like Kevin mentioned. Born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. Attended Shelmet High School, which was a 5A school in Louisiana. Um, Ended up breaking, the single season rushing record over there. Um, Set numerous other records over there, longest kick return in school history. So I was able to accomplish a few things in high school. Then later went on to play college ball at Louisiana Tech. Ended up transferring after 2 years there. Finished my last 2 years at Mississippi College, where I earned an undergrad degree in exercise science. And, finished there. Got invited to play in some showcases. Went represented the USA team in Monterrey, Mexico. Won MVP in the championship game. So
That's
I was
right.
able to from an athletic standpoint, I was able to excel, um, and make the most out of my athletic career, what I could make it. Ended up playing professionally as well in Miami with the Florida Red Wolves of the Rivals Professional Football League, and ended up getting picked up by Arena Team. So I've been bouncing around all over the states a little bit, and but this was most of all fun experience for me. You know, um, any athletes out there that may want to hear this message, man. You never stop chasing your dream. You
Mm,
never know what can happen, what's possible. If you continue to work hard, the opportunity is there. You just have to present yourself.
mm. That's the truth, man. So easy to throw in the towel as soon as things don't go the exact way you have it planned. So, um, yeah, that's good. That's a good message, and it's obvious now. Looking back, like there's gonna be hurdles in the way, and like you said, you're either jumping over them, or you're going around them, or you're going under them, but you're getting through them, right?
Yep.
So
Right.
that's awesome. So, tell us a little bit about um, what it is that you're doing now.
Okay. So back in 2016, once I was graduating and stuff, I had a vision to start my own business. I've always been into sports, always been into sports performance, always found it interesting in ways to where I can benefit myself by working hard, keeping my body up, understanding movement. And so when I got into it, I started my business. I named it For Performance because, the message behind that is just, as athletes, you're always pursuing to go forward.
Mm,
Never want to go backwards. You never want to stay stagnant. You always want to keep progressing. And
mm-hmm,
so that was, my, you know, ideology behind, starting that business and having that name for it. And, one of my mottos is, train to excel. And train to excel, that's on and off the field. You have to be a leader, and it starts with you.
mm,
If you're behind a brand, leadership starts with you, and you have to have the qualities of a leader in order to succeed in whatever area it is that you're doing.
mm,
And so, I've been into business for 3 years now. This is actually, I say, my second full term year of being in business. And, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from, different coaches. I've been open to, taking more information each and every day. And my goal is to not stop. I want to learn as much as I can to be able to process and put out information that's helpful.
Mm. Awesome. So what is your average kind of client, or when you're looking to bring in new clients or new athletes, what's your bread and butter? What's your ideal?
My ideal is, just, building relationships. You have to sell yourself. When you go out into the marketplace and you're meeting people, you have to present yourself in a way to where, you know, people understand you. People understand what you're doing. They may not understand everything about you, but they get the gist of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in order to present yourself in that way, you have to be confident. You have to be confident in the way you talk. You have to be confident in how you approach people, because I feel like that's something that limits people. People are afraid to get out of their comfort zone, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when you're a coach, you can't be afraid to make mistakes. You can't be afraid of failure, because failure is not always a bad thing. Failure can be beneficial to you in many ways, because everything is an experience.
Mm.
You know.
For sure. No, that's uh, that was probably one of my most notable like issues when I did some self-reflection. I was just like, man, like early on, I was like, if I can't sell them, then like I was attaching my ability to sell to my self-worth, right? And so for a long time, I was like, I feel like I know enough to help this person out, but it just for some reason I'd struggle with portraying that and like delivering that. And there were tons of times, and this was mostly in the corporate fitness kind of setting when I was working in these big box gyms, and the entire goal was sell, 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 and not so much train and help the people that just bought from you. And I didn't like to sell. And it took me a while to get to the point where I was like, hey, I know this stuff. All I have to do is explain how I can help and be honest, and where my experience or expertise or scope of practice ends, then that's where it ends. Don't go beyond that. Don't try to just get them to buy from you and then make it up as you go. Like, just be like, hey, here's what I can do. And exactly what you're saying, like, you've got to be confident, and that means you have to know your stuff. And when I kind of realized, like, oh yeah, I'm not a salesman. Don't try to sell. Just tell them what I can do. Tell them how I can help them. And that's been a huge benefit now. Just any client that I interact with, just being like, hey, here's how I can help. Here's what I can do. And yeah, man, it's an excellent point. I wish that you had told me that when I 10 years ago when I was getting started.
Yeah.
Where were you, James?
Yeah.
So, alrighty, let's jump into the next thing. So, what is your passion? What wakes you up in the morning?
My passion is, man, just to deliver content, be able to inspire others um, on a daily basis. Nothing makes me feel better than helping people get to another level. I think that's one of the biggest things for me, is just waking up knowing that I have another opportunity to better myself or better someone else.
Yeah, it's not just about you yourself getting better. It's about using that to then share and build other people up. So, kind of related to that, what's your training demographic like? Are you working with mostly youth athletes? Do you kind of run the gambit of soccer moms and the elderly and kids. Like what is I guess what's your clientele niche?
I mean, mainly it's football, football training, but I do branch off into other sports. I just haven't hit all sports yet, but
Mm-hmm.
I do train. I've trained baseball players before. I've trained basketball players. I've trained football players. I've trained track athletes. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I do branch out into a wide array of sports, but my expertise lies within football for sure.
Gotcha.
Just the knowledge I have on the game and just being able to transfer that and apply that within other athletes, I feel like that's my niche,
Mm-hmm.
helping, guys who want to get to that next level in football. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I can help them and guide them and mentor them more in that aspect.
For sure. I mean, you have so much experience at such a high level. Um, and you didn't just do it there, like you did it well there. So, um, yeah, I think that's a huge tool you have in your toolbox that you can, when people know that you're not just saying something because you read it in a book or because you saw somebody else's Instagram video. Like, no, like you were there, you were in the trenches, you were, busting other people's helmets with your own. You were running with the ball. Like you were doing everything you had to do to be successful on that field. And um, I think one of your greatest strengths is being able to combine that with, the book or academic side. Like you've got one foot in each side, and you're able to like merge those two to help out,
Yes,
these
sir.
these youth athletes that you've got. So that's awesome, man. That's really why I wanted to talk to you, today is because I get to see and work with football athletes here and there, basketball athletes here and there. Kind of my niche, if you want to call it that, is um, really anyone who's trying to get faster or train out of pain. And so that's kind of anything and everything. But I don't have kind of uh, that established lane where it's like, hey, this is what I am excellent at. This is like football. I got it.
Oh
Right.
man,
So
you ain't gotta lie to me, man. You got your strengths.
hey, but I can always learn more. And like that's the
Definitely.
whole goal of this podcast is to bring in people who know more than I do about their lane, who can teach me something, and then hopefully anybody else who's listening can be like, "Oh wow, this guy's legit. I'm going to take what he's saying and I'm going to spend some time on his website learning some stuff, his Instagram, all that stuff." So, yeah. So that being said, um, when it comes to athlete factors, right? So that's my business name. That's the podcast name. So what are the most important factors for either high school or even middle school, college football athletes? What's the most important stuff?
I feel like, it's knowledge.
Mm,
You can't never stop learning. You have to understand your body before someone else can.
mm,
And, when I dig deep into, finding ways to make athletes better, a lot of guys will say, well, use a bottom up approach. Well, I don't necessarily feel that's true because I feel like if you can't do it mentally and prepare yourself mentally, how are you going to do it physically? So
mm,
I feel like as a coach, I put a lot of stress on my athletes about, knowing what's bias and knowing what's applied science.
mm,
Because, in this industry, as it's growing rapidly, we're in an information age where it's a lot of information to process. But you have to know what's content and you have to also know what's bullshit.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like
there's a lot of that out there.
right,
A lot of both.
And I feel like the way as a coach, the way to get through to your athletes is building, you know, that buy-in with communication. How well you communicate and effectively communicate through to your athletes, I feel is what gets them to that next level. Because it's about building relationships. We put a lot of stress on movement capabilities and movement efficiency. Oh, I want to get this guy faster. I want to get this guy stronger. I want to do this. But we're not even communicating with the athletes. We're not even checking on them. We're not even doing this. We're just putting it in a sense to where it's just about our field. And as a coach, I feel like it needs to be more about the overall context of the athlete. You know, Ask them, shoot them a text. How well was your day? What did you do in school today? Are you performing well in the weight room? Are you what is it? Because if these are your clients, you need to treat them as clients, but you need to build a relationship with clients. In order for them to keep coming back to you. And so that's one of the approaches that I use. It's just not to just put a focus on the sports performance aspect, but also build a relationship with them, communicate with them. So yeah, man, that's one of the factors. Two is just being able to mentor and show them the way. Because it's easier said than done. There's a lot of coaches that just do a lot of talking. Oh, well, I can get you there, and there's no results. Well, now you just, what I'm saying? You just baited this client in, this athlete in, and he's not getting the results he gets. So how do you explain that to him?
Yeah. And then there's no referrals after that. Like you've burned that bridge. Like all his friends are gonna be like, "Hey man, how's that working out?" It's not. Oh shoot, should I go see him? Nope.
So I
you
feel
don't
like
want that.
Yeah, so when it comes to sports performance, we need to bridge that gap, with between content and relation. You know what I'm saying? And be able to put it together. Because the content that I present, I don't have to speak in book form to be able to communicate effectively to my athlete to get them to understand what I want them to do. You have to build that relationship for them to be able to accept and adapt to your coaching. You know what I'm saying? So that's my two biggest, factors when it comes to training athletes.
Dude, that reminds me of one of the things that Ambrose told me. Probably the first week that I moved down here to work with him, and I don't know if it's originally his words or not, but it doesn't matter because I heard it from him, and I was like, oh, okay, wow, that's something I need to actually take in and kind of apply. But he said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so one of the things that I try to do after hearing him say that, like consistently, like every time we get a new intern in, or every time we get somebody else who's coming in that wants to coach with us, he's pretty upfront about that, because like we can for the most part teach anybody else how to coach, but what we can't do is teach someone how to build relationships. And that's like, it's exactly what you're saying. So one of the things that I try to do, and the kids, they get annoyed by it, but every single time they come in, I'll say, hey, what'd you learn at school today? And most of the time they're like, oh, nothing. And I'm like, okay, well, what classes did you have? And was there any news, like any good news from some of your friends, any bad news? Like I try to start before we're doing any sort of work. I just want to let them know, like, hey man, you're in a place where people here care about you. We're not just here trying to put you through a workout and then send you on your way. So that's just one of the things that I try to set the tone. Like, hey, how are you doing? How was your day? Exactly like you said, like checking in with them, send them a text. Um, for the clients that I help out with nutrition, I try to do that every once in a while. Like, hey, how was tracking your macros today? How's watching your calories? And I can get so in a rhythm of just saying, hey, how was just this aspect of nutrition, instead of, hey, how you doing? How's school? How's life? How's your family? What's new? Oh, and how's all this other stuff? That's ultimately in the long run, it's important, but it's not as important as, they're a person, and you gotta interact with them as a person.
And I
So,
feel like that's another point I want to bring across too. As a coach, you have to really dig deep into yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because these are athletes that look up to you. So if you come in with wrong body language, you don't feel like talking to them, you're not communicating with them effectively. But it turns around that and it shows them, it gives them an impression that you don't care. You don't really care about their well-being or their value, And so that's another thing that I pride myself on too, is just being energetic, bringing energy to the session, whether they may be down and out, But if I can bring that spark to my sessions, it'll lighten up the mood, and it'll get them ready to work,
Oh yeah.
Because you're not gonna always feel like doing it. But if you come in and you don't feel like doing it, and then my mood is bad or whatever the case may be, then it's a bad day. Period.
For sure.
So
Oh yeah.
you have to do self-evaluation within yourself as well. And also nothing wrong with being creative. Nothing's wrong with being creative, but within our field, we need to be able to challenge creativity with application. You know what I'm saying? Because if you are creative, that's fine. You can use that, but still keep applied science and understand what's practical and what's not. You know, and so I try not to get too creative in my sessions. I try to just keep it simple because I feel like that works best. Fundamentals and principles kind of guy. So I stick to what I know. And I have fun with my guys. I put them through like little circuit type of drills, but it's also very functional drills. You know what I'm saying? It's very applicable drills, practical, and so that's another thing. So you can be creative, but don't take away from science. That's what I pride myself on as well. Nothing's wrong with being creative, but don't take away from science.
For sure. Like trying something new, and testing some stuff out on your athletes. Like I think there's a time and a place for that. That can be very appropriate. But if every time they come in, you're like, you know what? I was thinking about trying this today. I'll have them do that. And if you're doing that every single time, then like you said, like the fundamentals and the basics of success, it all comes back to, are you teaching proper movement? Are you correcting weaknesses? Are you fixing imbalances? And are you teaching proper lifting mechanics? Like if you're focusing on those things, then being creative within those boundaries, like shoot, you can have some serious success. But once you start like going outside that, like, oh hey, I'm gonna try one, like a single leg, and they're gonna stand on a block, and that block's on a Bosu ball, and they're gonna be blindfolded, and then I'm gonna be quizzing them in complex math equations, and also they're gonna have, a dumbbell in the right hand, and then
bias content.
So yeah, you got to be brave enough to see where you can make a unique adaptational stress that's specific to that athlete, but not so creative that it's like, okay, where are we going with this? Is this gonna provide the type of result and adaptation that's really gonna benefit the athlete? And I think that's, um, yeah, bringing in that balance is like that can be really hard, especially for an incoming coach. That's like, I'm gonna scroll through Instagram. Oh, that looks cool. I'm gonna try that. Scroll through. Oh, that looks cool. I'm gonna try that. Like,
without no reasoning behind why that coach is doing what they're doing. You just
exactly.
find something,
Hmm.
And I feel like you have to apply yourself to know what's bull and what's actual content.
For sure. That's the truth, man. So, um, let's see. All right, so we'll switch it up a little bit if that's okay with you.
Cool.
Um, what is something that you're learning or reading right now? How are
So,
you staying sharp?
conscious coaching by Brett Bartholomew. I was telling you that the other day.
Hmm.
Man, I mean, the way the guy just presents himself, is world class, like any other that I've read about or seen. He's on topic with every single thing that he speaks on.
Mm.
He doesn't focus too much on, like I said, the movement skills and you know what our profession is making strength and conditioning out to be. He
Hmm.
focuses on the small, minute details of being an effective coach, how to communicate better with your athletes, you
Hmm.
know, and the things that's the important things. We like I said, we can't spend too much time on just thinking that everything is about the movement
Hmm.
side and not put any attention on, us evaluating athletes or assessing athletes and building relationships with athletes in that form.
Hmm.
So I think it's a really good book. I recommend, any coach that's getting into coaching or any coach that's into coaching to really pick up that book because it's a lot of helpful insight in there for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. And then, um, before we close, is there any like one piece of advice or um, like a quote that you find extremely significant, or any piece of information that you think will be beneficial for anybody who's listening to hear?
Definitely. One of the quotes that I love the most is from, Michael Jordan. He said, you have to expect things from yourself first before you can do them.
Mm,
And I take that because it's like you do. If you're not confident in what you do and you don't have expectations set for yourself, how are you going to lead someone else?
wow, that's the truth. Yeah, shoot, man, that's awesome. Um, anything else you can think of that people need to hear?
I mean, a quote that I can just randomly say, man, is whatever your vision is, don't allow others to dictate who you will become.
Mm,
Because in this field of coaching, you have to control what you can control. You know, a way, one way, this coach thinks about something may be different from you, and that's fine. You're two different individuals,
mm-hmm.
but it should all still be within the same frame, you know, and within the same framework because, coaching is something that, not everyone can do. You have to have a skill set to be able to bring something to the table. And if you're not applying yourself on a daily basis to be an effective coach, then it's going to be hard as you go up in your career to keep up with the information if you're not applying yourself at this present moment. You know, so I think that's important too. If you have a vision, stick to your vision.
Mm-hmm.
Don't allow others to dictate. Well, you're a bad coach, or you this, or you that. Take it as constructive criticism. Find
Mm-hmm.
out what it is that you're lacking, and sometimes you may not be lacking what someone else see, but if they see it, still critique yourself. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Critique yourself and say, okay, well, if they're saying this, maybe I can get better at that. Don't look
Mm-hmm.
at it as, well, they're putting me down. You know, just continue to raise the bar high, set for yourself, and man, keep it going.
That's awesome, man. Sweet. So, how can how can somebody contact you? How can they follow you? Like, what's your Instagram? What's your Twitter? Like, plug yourself right now so that everybody has a chance to follow you and to see um, what you're doing right now and what you're continuing to do. Like, you've got some amazing uh, videos on Instagram, and anybody who's playing football needs to see these because they're legit. They're pretty cool too.
Appreciate
Music's good.
it.
Uh,
Appreciate it, man.
hey,
Appreciate it.
for sure. So where can
Yeah,
they follow you?
definitely, man. You actually visit my website at www.forwardperformanceathletes.com. I have a lot of content on there. You can also shoot me a friend request on my Instagram at Forward Performance Athletes, all one word. My Twitter is Forward Athletes, and I also have Facebook, regular Forward Performance Athletes. You can follow me there as well. So, you know,
Sweet.
hey, let's keep it going, man. This is a great profession. I pray that we all have the success that we want within this field. Keep learning, keep empowering each other,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna change the view of how people think our profession really is.
Yeah, that when you were what you were saying earlier about how coaches really have to continue to learn and they've got to take this seriously. That reminded me of shoot, what was it? School of Rock with Jack Black, where he's sitting at the lunch table with all the teachers, and he says, those who can't do teach, and those who can't teach PE, and like everybody gets a big laugh out of that. But like, yeah, like there's plenty of people who don't take coaching seriously. Um, but that's just an opportunity for us to stand out and to say, hey, like this is not something that you do because you don't want to read and you don't want to learn and you don't want to then teach. Like, no, like the best coaches are the people who take this very seriously and they learn from other coaches and they critique other coaches and they empower other coaches. And that's shoot, man, that's it right there. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this, man. This has been awesome. I'll include your Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that all in the info section on YouTube. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it. So again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for everybody who took the time to watch. And yeah, go follow James right now. Don't waste any time.
Don't waste time.
That's right. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate
All
you
right.
for having me.
My pleasure.